All right, so today we're diving into something a lot of us try to, well, avoid.
Yeah, not the most cheerful topic, maybe.
Right. Failure. But stick with us, because this excerpt we found, well, it's a totally different view. Says we shouldn't fear it, but practically embrace it. Like almost like the more we mess up.
The better we get.
Yeah, exactly. It actually says here, quote, failure is life's greatest teacher, and repeated failure is its masterclass.
Masterclass. I like that.
So you're not totally turned off by the idea. I got to admit, it's a bit counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
To want more failure.
I wouldn't say wanting it exactly, but the excerpts onto something about repeated failures, those are key. They shape us in ways easy wins can't.
That's interesting. So you're saying if we don't fail enough, especially early on,
we might be in for a rude awakening later. It's those early, effortless successes. They can be deceiving, almost like
tricking us.
Exactly. We start thinking we've got it all figured out, that we're naturally gifted, when really, it might have just been luck, timing, whatever.
Oh, I can see that. Like, imagine a student acing every test without studying.
Right.
They feel amazing, on top of the world, until they hit a subject that actually requires effort.
Precisely. Or think of some entrepreneur, their first business is a boom, pure chance, no real skill involved.
And suddenly, they're the expert everyone wants advice from.
But they haven't built that resilience, that adaptability. The first real challenge comes along and bam, they're lost.
Which I guess brings us back to this idea that the excerpt emphasizes, that those who have failed repeatedly,
they're actually better prepared for the long haul.
So how does that work? How does failing make you more successful?
Well, when you hit those roadblocks, when things don't go as planned, you're forced to adjust. To think outside the box, problem solve on the fly.
So it's like building mental muscles.
Exactly. It's a boot camp for resilience and flexibility, qualities you absolutely need if you're aiming for long-term success.
So it's less about avoiding failure, more about, learning to use it.
You got it. Failure is a tool, part of the process, not the enemy. Doesn't mean we go looking for ways to screw up.
Right. Not intentionally sabotaging ourselves.
But we shift our mindset, take calculated risks, knowing even if it goes wrong, there's a lesson in there.
You know, that reminds me of this project I was so passionate about, poured my heart and soul into it, and total flop.
Oh no, what happened?
I was convinced it'd be a hit, but hadn't bothered to test the idea, get feedback, anything. Harsh lesson, but it taught me to validate. Ever had anything similar happen?
Oh, absolutely. Early in my career, I completely bombed a presentation to, all the senior execs.
Oof, that's rough.
Mortifying. But you know what? I was so focused on proving myself, I totally missed the audience's perspective. So I learned the hard way about empathy, about tailoring your message.
Yeah, those audience-specific presentations, those can be tricky.
Tell me about it.
Okay, so we've talked about setbacks being valuable. But how do we actually get those lessons out of them? The excerpt, it highlights these traits. Humility, resilience, self-awareness. Not exactly what comes to mind when you think messing up.
Right, not usually, no. But when you stumble, you're forced to reevaluate. You start questioning your assumptions, acknowledging limitations.
And you realize, maybe I'm not as amazing as I thought.
Exactly. Humbling, sure. But it also builds self-awareness, and that is crucial for making smarter decisions later on.
It's that whole learn more from losses than wins thing. But this excerpt, it takes it a step further, saying we need to actually embrace failure. What's that even look like practically?
It's a conscious choice, Instead of dreading failure, avoiding it at all costs, you see it as inevitable, as part of growth.
So not being reckless, but
understanding setbacks are going to happen, being willing to experiment, push boundaries, knowing you won't always hit the bullseye.
Some people call that a growth mindset.
Exactly.
It's not about seeking out failure, but changing how we relate to it.
Right, like failure's not the end of the story, just a plot twist. Adds depth, Makes things interesting.
I love that analogy. Makes me think, what's one area in your life where you've been playing it safe? Maybe avoiding failure so much that you're missing out on growth.
Ooh, that's a good one to ponder.
It is, isn't it? Because what if, by embracing the possibility of messing up, we actually opened ourselves to, more possibilities?
It's often where we're most hesitant to stumble that we have the most to learn.
So here's a little challenge for everyone listening. What's that area for you? Where are you holding back out of fear of failure? And what would it look like to approach it with a growth mindset, embracing the possibility of setbacks as opportunities to learn?
Something to think about.
Definitely. All right, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
See you next time. And until then, keep diving.